The UFC is finally giving the fans what they want because we have a light heavyweight co-main event title fight to a heavyweight main event title fight for UFC 295. This is the first time that has ever happened since Stipe Miocic fought Francis Ngannou and Daniel Cormier fought Volkan Ozdemir on his co-main event. This time we have Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka, which is 10 times better than Daniel Cormier and Volkan Ozdemir for the co-main event. And I've been ranting about, the UFC always giving us flyweight title fights as our big second title co-main event fights on these pay-per-view cards. And I've been saying that the flyweight title fights, don't get me wrong, they're really entertaining, but they're kind of a cop-out to say 2 title fights. We know that they're just not as hype. They're not as hype. But here's the thing. Colby Covington and Leon Edwards, they're going to have a flyweight title fight co-main eventing for them, which will be Alexander Pantoja and Brandon Royval, because that is going to be on UFC 296. All of these fights have been made official. The 170-pound division finally has some movement. What the fuck has taken so long? But let's just get back to Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka. I cannot wait for 295. This is so stacked. There's just something that we never get, and it's this like 2 bigger weight class title fights on the same card. It's going to be so cool just to see Jon Jones, Jiri, Pereira, Stipe, bulked up Stipe, all in the same room. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait for the press conference. I bet we're going to see some like photos of Jon Jones squaring off with Pereira, dapping him up because Jones secretly still doesn't fuck with Izzy that much, even though they're like, all cordial these days. I can't wait, man. And of course, the fights themselves, bro. Even Daniel Cormier has been getting me super hyped up to watch the main event, like between Jones and Stipe, even though like we're all kind of under the impression that Jones is going to run through this man. But I'm starting to believe into Stipe and that immigrant mentality once again. Bulked up Stipe. If you think about all the crazy KOs that he had on the come up, we're not talking about that TKO over DC. We're talking about those KOs, starching people. All of those came from when Stipe was in the 240s. And not only do we have, the fucking main event, Jon Jones' last fight ever potentially, but we have Jiri Prochazka, one of the most violent guys in history. I'm going to go as far as to call him the pound for pound most entertaining fighter to ever walk the fucking face of the earth. It's him and Charles Oliveira, and he's fighting Alex Pereira, bro. You know what I mean? Like, this is insane. And I've said that Jiri Prochazka, he almost has like this, not an aura of invincibility, but the best way I would describe it is he's got something that just wills him to win it, like a holy martial arts spirit that just constantly wills him to victory through these wars. Jiri Prochazka's head will be falling off in the 5th round against Glover Teixeira, and he'll find a way to fucking pull off a finish. So I'm not doubting Jiri. I don't know who I'm going to pick so far. Logic tells me to pick Alex Pereira in this matchup because he's the more classically trained kickboxer. But it's hard to go against Jiri just because, again, it's like we've seen this guy get KO'd by Dominic Reyes with an up kick. Jiri Prochazka treats himself like he's disposable, like he's got 10 lives in there, and he always ends up finding a way to win. Alex Pereira is a much cleaner, more technical guy, but I've seen this guy get laid out cold by Izzy. And look at what Izzy just had happen to him by Sean Strickland. You know what I mean? So I know that we're getting into some bullshit right now, but I think this is a lot closer than some people think. I really do. I don't think it's fair to just say, Alex Pereira, because he's got the left hook, is just going to go in there and starch him. I think Alex Pereira's left hook, let me just say this, I actually think it's a little bit overrated. I do. I do think it's a little bit overrated. Now, don't get me wrong. It's like one of the best weapons in MMA, but people take the word overrated and they think, you're saying it's trash? No. Alex Pereira could have the best left hook in all of combat sports, and it could still be overrated. Like, it's not the kiss of death every single time you get hit by it. You know what I mean? Jan Blachowicz got hit by the left hook. And I understand that Jan Blachowicz had just grappled in the first round and it was at altitude because he took Pereira down. But like, how many times are we going to give excuses for Pereira not laying people out with the left hook? And I'm not saying we give him a lot of excuses, but it's like he was tagging Izzy with the left hook. In the rematch, he caught him a couple of times. Didn't affect Izzy at all. Izzy's got a good chin, but he was dropped by Strickland. You know what I mean? It's not like his chin is, Max Holloway level. And I'm just saying, I think that Jiri Prochazka has just as good of a chance to KO Alex Pereira as Pereira does him. And that's just because of how wild he is. And Jiri's right hand is actually just a nuke. You know what I mean? He really does have a nuke in that right hand. Just look at his highlight reel. Like, look at the way he knocked out Volkan Ozdemir. That is one of the nastiest KOs I've ever seen to this day. Okay? And of course, we're going to talk about the Dominic Reyes spinning elbow. Jiri Prochazka is responsible for turning people into the Flying Dutchman just as much as Alex Pereira is. I kind of want Jiri to win, dude. I'm not going to lie, dude. I kind of do want him to win. Because even though Pereira's a boss, dude. Pereira's my guy too. But like, Jiri's, I don't know. How can you root against the most entertaining fighter to ever walk the face of the earth? You know what I mean? But it's hard to doubt Pereira. I'd love to see Pereira get it done. I'm more of a fan of Alex Pereira, you know what I mean? Like, because he's got that storyline against Izzy, and we don't fuck with Izzy over here. So I just can't wait for this co-main event to see all these giants on the stage. And, you know, we finally don't have the UFC saying 2 title fights. Here's a flyweight matchup with Moreno and Figueiredo 5. Fucking thank God, bro. Those were cop-outs. So we finally have 2 big weight classes. This is what I've been asking for months on end. You guys, if you've been watching my live streams, you know I've been saying, is it too much to ask for just to get 2 bigger weight classes on the same card, 2 title fights for bigger weight classes? So we finally have it. Of course, UFC 296, Colby Covington and Leon Edwards is going to be taking place too. I absolutely can't wait for this fight. I am picking Leon Edwards, guys. I know that we can't be out here doubting anyone in a title fight completely these days because of all the upsets. And I think that Colby does have a chance to beat Leon if he gets the ball rolling early. Like, if he finds a couple of takedowns early, I do think he'll beat Leon Edwards, because I think that Colby Covington has better control than someone like Kamaru Usman. I think that when it comes to actually getting the takedown, I think they're fairly similar. And I think that Kamaru Usman can close the distance a little bit safer than Colby because he's got more power, he's got a longer reach. But I think that if Colby gets the takedown, he just drains people a little bit more than Kamaru Usman. You know what I mean? He bullies people and kind of takes their soul a little bit more than Usman does. And I think he's got better jiu-jitsu too. But the thing is, Leon Edwards is a really big welterweight. He was able to get up to his feet when Kamaru Usman took him down. And I know I just said Colby has better control, but it's like Colby Covington doesn't have the same power and reach that Kamaru does. And he does have a similar pace. It's not like Leon can't deal with a guy who's the CEO of EPO. You know what I mean? He's been able to deal with that kind of pressure before, and he's been able to show a perfect game plan to just move off laterally against the cage to disrupt the wrestler's forward pressure. So I still am going to be going with Leon Edwards. I also haven't seen many people destroy the legs of Colby Covington, and I think this is going to be a wake-up call. I think Leon's going to pick his legs apart. Leon's kicks are so unbelievably fast that there's just no telegraph to them. So I think I am going to go with Leon there. And then the title fight underneath it, the flyweight title fight, is Brandon Royval and Alexander Pantoja. I can't wait, because think about it like this. Even though I've been saying, come on, these are cop-outs, I've just been asking for 2 bigger weight classes title fights. All right, that's it. That's the reason why I'm calling it a cop-out. But I'm not one of these guys that's going to say, oh, I don't care about these fights. Like, bro, Pantoja is one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC, simple as. We talk about Jiri Prochazka having a disregard for his being and his, safety in the fucking octagon, bro. Alexander Pantoja doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? This guy just walks forward and accepts punishment to give his own, has absolutely no respect for anyone's power. He did get outstruck badly against, maybe not that badly, but he did get outstruck by Brandon Royval in their first fight. But as soon as he took him down, sunk the hooks in, he caught a new wind and just, got the easy submission in the second round. So I do think that we're going to see Pantoja finish Brandon Royval, but it's like Brandon Royval is such a wild man. He's so unorthodox as well. And he can knock anyone out in that division if he catches them with the right shot, like a flying knee to the chin or something like that. So I can't wait for that fight. I think it's going to be just as entertaining as the Moreno fight. Maybe not as entertaining, just because I think there will actually be a faster finish. But if there's no finish, Royval and Pantoja is going to be an absolute war. I'm actually kind of impressed that Pantoja is making such a quick turnaround. I know it's going to be like 6 months since his war with Moreno, but that was a different level of damage that he took in that fight. I know Moreno was the one that was getting knocked down, but Moreno was landing like vicious combinations on the chin of Pantoja for the majority of the fight. So he's coming off of a big damaging, win he took a lot of damage in that, but I think he's going to have that extra boost of confidence for him now being a champion. So I'm really looking forward to these fights. We finally have some movement in the welterweight division. I cannot wait to see Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira. That's going to be one of the most entertaining, chaotic, striking battles we'll ever see. I hope that there's not a really early KO, just because I want to see this thing go into the later rounds. I want to see many, many exchanges between both of these guys. And it's looking like UFC 295 may just be one of the best fucking cards we've ever seen, especially if they throw Shavkat on there, if they throw Jack Della Maddalena on there. Oh my gosh, imagine that. Imagine if they have a stacked prelims too. Roman Kopylov on there as well. Bro, I really am looking forward to 295. We also have 294 right before it, the Abu Dhabi card, which is just as good, honestly. So the UFC is always killing it in the fall and in the winter. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, obviously I'm in a different location. I'm on vacation still, but this is the last video that I'll be making from Hawaii because I'm going home tomorrow, but I wanted to record this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time. What is up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA here, and I want to let you guys know that I have something for you, and that's a real food cookbook, because if you're walking around looking like Chris Dawkins, you got to get that weight off. I don't know if you think you're DC or something, but most people usually don't perform at their best when they're walking around with 30% body fat. So if you're trying to lean out and you still want to eat good, tasty comfort foods, well, you could check out my Real Food Cookbook, because I've made it a purpose to have good, tasty foods that you can still eat just without all the processed bullshit, without all the processed ingredients like soy and seed oils. So guys, check out the Real Food Cookbook. Use code MMA for 30% off. The link is in my description. Don't forget that discount.